안녕하세요. In this video, you're gonna learn more about transitive adjectives in Korean, which can take an object like noun. Let's go. Let's take a look at the Korean adjective first this time. 무섭다, 무섭다, and 두렵다, 두렵다. They are both adjectives in Korean, but you can use them to mean to fear something or someone as if they are verbs. You can use them interchangeably if you want, but you normally use the first one, 무섭다, more commonly for anything you are scared of, afraid of, or fear. And you normally use the second one, 두렵다, for something you can't control, such as devil, a coming future, and etc. If you don't want to memorize both of them, we recommend you memorize the first one, 무섭다, since it is used more commonly for general things. As you know, they are actually adjectives, so you can use them to indicate something or someone scary, or to say that you're fearful for something or someone, okay? Let's take a look at the example. I fear sharks. I, sharks, fear. I, 저는, sharks. Shark is 상어. 상어, 상어 in Korean. As you told you don't have to use the plural as you do in English when you just indicate things and people in general. Let's add a particle first because you already know the answer. Because of the fact that we are going to use an adjective as the predicate and it can take an object as if it is a verb, you use either 이 or 가 particle for the object, right? The last letter of the object doesn't have a final consonant. Therefore, you should add a particle 가. 상어가, 상어가, 상어가. Fear. Let's use the adjective 무섭다. To fear is a verb in English, but 무섭다 is an adjective, as afraid and scared are adjectives in English, but 무섭다 can be used as if it is a verb in Korean. The stem of the adjective 무섭다 is 무섭, of course. We want to add the ending 어요, right? But when the last letter of the stem has 부 consonant and it meets a or at sound, the final 부 consonant disappears and 우 sound is added. So 무섭 becomes 무서 without the 부 consonant. 무서 plus 우 plus 어요. And 우 and 어 sound combined together one more time. So it becomes 무서워요. 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 무섭어요 becomes 무서워요. So when you hear the final 부 consonant with or at sound, you must know something is wrong. You should be able to automatically know that 무섭어요 is wrong and 무서워요 is correct because of the 부 consonant that the last letter of the stem has. Okay? Very good. I, 저는, sharks, 상어가, fear, 무서워요. 저는 상어가 무서워요. 저는 상어가 무서워요. I fear sharks. I'm scared of sharks. I'm afraid of sharks. 저는 상어가 무서워요. Okay? Then let's use the adjective 두렵다 this time. 저는 상어가 part is the same. The stem of the adjective 두렵다 is the first two letters, 두렵. Wait a minute. It also has the final 부 consonant in the last letter of the stem. Therefore, needless to say, you get rid of the final 부 consonant and add 우 sound when you add the ending 어요. 두려 plus 우 plus 어요 becomes 두려워요. 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 저는 상어가 두려워요. Okay? Let's see the next example. Minho is afraid of walking alone at night. Me too. This sentence looks complicated, but you can make this kind of sentence based on what you've learned so far. It's nothing. Minho is a Korean man's name. Is afraid of is going to be the predicative part in Korean, like the verb fear. You can think that walking alone at night is one phrase. It's okay, but it doesn't really matter actually. Walking is a gerund. You know what turns a verb into a noun form in Korean, right? You can think that the gerund walking is going to be the object of the predicative part in Korean. Let's rearrange the words. The subject Minho comes first, and then time-related words at night comes. Do you agree with that? Okay. And then the verb alone comes because we can say that it modifies the gerund walking. And then the gerund walking comes because it will become the object of the predicative part is afraid of. Minho, at night, alone, walking, is afraid of. Right? You can think either walking is the object or the entire phrase walking alone at night is the object. It doesn't matter. It won't make any difference in Korean sentence. Minho. Let's say Minho is your friend so that you can just call him by his name. So Minho is just Minho. Let's use the auxiliary particle 는. The role of this auxiliary particle 는 can be varied, depends on the context. It can be used just to bring out Minho as a topic. 민호는. Of course, it can also provide a nuance of comparing or contrasting. It depends on the context. At night. Night is 밤 in Korean. It's a noun. Therefore, you can add a time-related particle 에, 밤에, 밤에. Alone. Alone is 혼자 in Korean. 혼자. It can be both a noun and adverb in Korean. Walking. The base form of the verb walk is 걷다. 걷다 in Korean. The stem is 걷. Regardless of the tense, in order to turn the verb into a noun form, you need to add 는 것 to the stem of the verb. 걷는 것, 걷는 것. The stem 것 is actually pronounced 건 with a n consonant because of the same n consonant in the initial of the next block, 는. Yes, it's a nasalization which doesn't have an exception. 걷는 것, 걷는 것. What particle do you want to use here? You might already know, because the subject is third person. If you don't, let's see the predicative part first. Is afraid of. This is the important part. Please listen carefully. Because of the fact that we used third person, 민호, as a subject, you don't normally use the adjective 무섭다 as a predicate. In a real-life conversation, you better turn it into a verb. How did you turn so-called psychology adjectives into verbs in Korean? Yes, you add 어하다 or 아하다. The stem of the adjective 무섭다 is 무섭. The last letter of the stem 섭 has 어 vowel, which is one of the in vowels. Therefore, you should add 어하다 with the 어 sound. 어하다 is going to be turning into 어해요 in a conversational form. So let's directly add 어해요. 무섭 plus 어해요. The final 부 consonant has met 어 sound again. So you need to get rid of the final 부 consonant and add 우 sound. So 무서 plus 우 plus 어해요 or 어하다 becomes 무서워해요. 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 And it's a verb. It's not an adjective anymore, right? Therefore, you can add object particle 을 to 걷는 것, walking. Okay? 민호. 민호는 at night, 밤에, alone, 혼자, walking, 걷는 것을 is afraid of, 무서워해요. 민호는 밤에 혼자 걷는 것을 무서워해요. Perfect. It's not written here, but you know you can shorten 걷을 into 걸 in spoken Korean, right? 민호는 밤에 혼자 걷는 걸 무서워해요. Or you can get rid of the object particle in spoken Korean and just use 거 instead of 걷. 민호는 밤에 혼자 걷는 거 무서워해요. Right? You already know this. One more thing. As we told you, normally in spoken Korean, it is okay to use the verb 무서워해요 with the subject I or you. But you cannot use the adjective 무서워요 with a third person subject. Because you cannot say that you feel the actual feeling that the third person has with the psychology adjectives like this in Korean. Right? Okay, very good. Let's learn the next adjective. 부럽다. Yes, it's an adjective too, but you can use it as if it is a verb in Korean. The exact meaning of the Korean adjective 부럽다 in a dictionary is that you wish you could have the same thing or quality that someone else has. So it means very close to the English verb to envy. And you can also use this Korean adjective 부럽다 to mean to be jealous of someone. Like, oh, I'm so jealous of her because she has a perfect soul. I'm not sure who's gonna be jealous of someone because she has a perfect soul. But anyway, you got my point, right? But you cannot use it to mean to feel angry or bitter because you think that another person is trying to take a lover or a friend or a possession away from you. There's another adjective for it. So you cannot use the Korean adjective 부럽다 for it. You only use the adjective 부럽다 in situation like you wish you could have the same thing or quality that someone else has. The point is, you wish, but not that strongly wish, just you wish, okay? Let's take a look at some examples. I envy Minho. I, Minho, envy. It's a simple sentence. When you're at the beginner stage, you don't have to make a longer sentence. You can make a conversation with several short sentences anyway, rather than make one longer sentence at the beginner stage, right? For example, when you want to say, I envy Minho because he has a car, or I envy Minho having a car, you can just say, I envy Minho. That man has a car. You don't actually need because or other grammatical elements to connect these two sentences. People will understand what you're talking about 100% anyway, okay? I, 저는, Minho. It's a Korean man name. Let's say Minho is your friend whose age is equal to or younger than yours so that you can call him by his name. So, Minho is just Minho. Now you know we're gonna use the adjective 부럽다 as a predicate. Therefore, let's add a particle, 가, even though it's an object. 민호가, 민호가, 민호가. Envy. The base form is 부럽다, and the stem is 부럽. Wait a minute. The last letter of the stem has final bu consonant. It makes you nervous a little bit, right? Please don't be. When you add the ending 어요 to the stem which has final bu consonant in the last letter, the final bu consonant disappears and 우 sound is added, as you know. So 부러 plus 우 plus 어요 becomes 부러워요. 부러워요. 저는 민호가 부러워요. 저는 민호가 부러워요. Then let's use Minho, the third person, as a subject. Minho envies me having a bicycle. Let's take a close look at this sentence. In the English sentence, me is actually object. But in Korean, the entire phrase, me having a bicycle, is going to be the object of the verb envy. But the thing is, in Korean, you cannot make a phrase like me having a bicycle grammatically. We don't have to explain about it, right? Because me is in an objective form. Having is a gerund. Object and gerund. What is this? What's the deal? How can you turn this into Korean? No, you can't. Me is actually a subject of the phrase having a bicycle. And in Korean, the objective form me cannot work like a subject. Therefore, you need to turn it into the clause like I have a bicycle or the fact that I have a bicycle and turn the last predicate into the noun form, right? You know what we're talking about. Me having a bicycle is the English sentence structure that you can make with the verb envy. But in Korean, you need to clearly indicate which one is the subject of the gerund having. Therefore, you cannot use the objective form me in Korean for the gerund having. Okay? We think it's clear then. Let's rearrange the words. Minho. The entire clause or phrase. It's actually clause in Korean. The entire clause comes next as an object of the verb envy. You also need to rearrange the words in the clause. Let's use I instead of the objective pronoun me. I, a bicycle, having. Minho, I, a bicycle, having. Envies. Minho, this time, let's say you're a woman and Minho is your close friend or boyfriend who is older than you. So that you can use oppa for Minho. Minho oppa. And let's use the auxiliary particle 는. Minho oppa는. I, a bicycle, having. I. Normally you use the subject particle for the subject of the enclosed phrase in Korean. Unless you need the nuance that the auxiliary particle 는 has. Therefore, let's say 제가, I. A bicycle is 자전거 in Korean. Having, let's use the predicate 있다. This predicate 있다 can be used to mean the verb to have in Korean. Do you remember? This predicate 있다 can be both a verb and adjective. When it's used to mean to have, it's an adjective. Please remember that. The stem is it, right? In order to turn it into the noun form, you need to add 는 것 to the stem, right? 있는 것. 있는 것 is actually pronounced 있는 것 with the final 느 consonant because of the initial 느 consonant in the next block, right? Nasalization. 있는 것. It's an object of the verb envy. Therefore, you can add the object particle 을 here. Yes, it's 을 because we are going to use a verb as the last predicate since the subject is the third person. 있는 것을 제가 자전거 있는 것을 Wait a minute. 있다, 있는 것 is an adjective, right? And a bicycle is an object of it. So you can add a particle 가 to the object bicycle, 자전거, and it's not a subject particle. I, a bicycle having, 제가 자전거가 있는 것을, 제가 자전거가 있는 것을, envies. The main subject is 민호. It's the third person. Therefore, you cannot use the adjective 부럽다. You need to use a verb. Let's turn the adjective 부럽다 into a verb. The stem is 부럽. You want to add 어해요, 어하다. Final 부 consonant of the last letter of the stem meets sound again. Therefore, you need to get rid of the final b consonant from the last letter of the stem and add u sound. 불어 plus 우 plus 어해요. 부러워해요. 부러워해요. 민호 오빠는 I, a bicycle having. 제가 자전거가 있는 것을 envies. 부러워해요. 민호 오빠는 제가 자전거가 있는 것을 부러워해요. In spoken Korean, you can shorten 것을 into one word, 걸. 민호 오빠는 제가 자전거가 있는 걸 부러워해요. 민호 오빠는 제가 자전거가 있는 걸 부러워해요. Or in spoken Korean, you can get rid of the particles from all the objects. 자전거 and 있는 것. And turn 것 sound into 거 sound. 거 is colloquial form of the dependent noun 것. 민호 오빠는 제가 자전거 있는 거 부러워해요. 민호 오빠는 제가 자전거 있는 거 부러워해요. Sound natural. Very good. Let's learn about the next adjective. 궁금하다. 궁금하다. This adjective, 궁금하다, is used when you want to say that you are interested in something and want to know more about it. So it can be used to mean to be curious about in English. And this adjective, 궁금하다, is also used when you want to say that you want to know more about something because you are rather worried or suspicious about it. So it can be also used to mean to wonder about or to wonder in English. Let's take a look at the example. I am curious about that woman's age. We used that woman because in Korean, you don't really use the possessive pronoun her. Let's rearrange the words. I, that woman's age, am curious about. I, 저는, that woman's age. That, let's say this woman is not in your sight right now, but you and the listener both know who you indicate. Therefore, you can use the Korean modifier 그. This modifier 그 can be used to mean the English definite article the. Therefore, you can also use it to indicate something right in front of your eyes. No problem. Just it indicates something or someone who you and the listener both know what it is or who it is. Woman, 여자. Let's add 분 sound to show more respect to that woman. 여자분. Apostrophe S. What's the particle you used for the apostrophe S normally? Yes, 의. 그 여자분의. That woman's. 그 여자분의. Age. 나이. That woman's age. 그 여자분의 나이. 그 여자분의 나이. That woman's age is not grammatically an object here, but anyway, it's the object you want to know. It's the object you are curious about, right? And we are going to use the Korean adjective as the last predicate. Therefore, you cannot use the object particle 를. You need to add a particle 가. 그 여자분의 나이가. 그 여자분의 나이가. am curious about. The conversational form of the base form 궁금하다 is, of course, 궁금해요. So, I, 저는, that woman's age, 그 여자분의 나이가, curious about, 궁금해요. 저는 그 여자분의 나이가 궁금해요. 저는 그 여자분의 나이가 궁금해요. Let's take a look at the next example. Minho wonders why Suji still meets her ex-boyfriend. I'm wondering too. Why? Okay, let's rearrange the words. This sentence looks a little bit complicated, but there's nothing you don't know here. The main subject, Minho, comes first. The entire clause, why Suji still meets her ex-boyfriend, is going to be the object of the main verb, wonder, in Korean. So the entire clause, why Suji still meets her ex-boyfriend, comes next. But you still need to rearrange the words within the clause. So let's put the subject of the clause, Suji, first. Yes, of course you can put the interrogative why first in Korean, no problem. It just depends on your talking habit. The word order is very flexible in Korean actually. And let's put the interrogative why next. And let's put the adverb still. Of course you can put it right before the verb of the clause, meet. And let's put the object, her ex-boyfriend. And let's put the verb of the clause, meets. And let's put the main predicate, wonders, at the end of the sentence. Minho, Suji why still her ex-boyfriend meets, wonders. Minho, this time let's say you're a man and Minho is your friend, but he's older than you. So you need to add 형, which means older brother for a man. 민호 형. Let's just add auxiliary particle, 은. 민호 형은. 민호 형은. 민호 형은. 민호 형은. 수지. 수지 is a female name. Let's say she's one of your close friends who is older than you. So you need to add 누나. 누나 to her name, which means older sister for a man. 수지 누나. We normally use the subject particle for the subject of the enclosed clause, right? So 수지 누나가. 수지 누나가. 수지 누나가. Why? 왜? Still. 아직. 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 Her ex-boyfriend. You don't have to add a possessive pronoun, her, in Korean because the listener already knows that you're talking about her ex-boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend is 전 남자친구. 전 남자친구. 전 means before. 남자친구 means boyfriend. So 전 남자친구. 전 남자친구 means ex-boyfriend. It's the object of the verb of the clause, meets. Therefore, you can add the object particle, 를. 전 남자친구를. 전 남자친구를. meets. The base form of the verb meet is 만나다 in Korean. 만나 is the stem. When the entire clause with an interrogative is used as an object in Korean, you use the connective ending 지 sound. Remember? This 지 sound is a connective ending that you use to connect your question or assumption with the final judgment in the next clause. Remember? But you cannot just use this connective ending alone. You need to turn the verb meet, 만나다, into a modifier. And the verb meet is in the present tense. Therefore, you use 는 sound. So after all, you add 는지 to the stem 만나. 만나는지. 만나는지. 수지. 수지 누나가 why, 왜, still, 아직, ex-boyfriend, 전 남자친구를 meet, 만나는지. 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구를 만나는지. The entire clause is the object of the main verb, wonder. Therefore, you can add the object particle, 를, at the end of the clause. 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구를 만나는지를 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구를 만나는지를 wonder. Because of the fact that the subject is the third person, you better use a verb to mean to wonder. But 궁금하다 is an adjective in Korean, right? So let's turn it into a verb form. It can be a little bit complicated, so please listen carefully. The stem is 궁금하, right? It's the stem of the adjective. If you add 어해요 to this stem, it can turn into a verb. Let's do it together. But the thing is, when the part of the stem ha sound meets or ot sound, as you know, the e vowel is added. And this e vowel combines with o sound right after it and make yo sound. Yo, yo, yo. Okay? So it becomes 궁금하여해요. 궁금하 plus e vowel plus 어해요. 궁금하여해요. But as you know, in Korean, you normally use 해 sound instead of 하여 sound. Therefore, it becomes 궁금해해요. 궁금해해요. Yes, there are two 해 sounds in it. 궁금해해요. If it's too complicated, you can just think that 궁금하 plus 어해요 becomes 궁금해해요, as 궁금하다 becomes 궁금해요 in a conversational form. Okay? 민호 형은 수지 누나가 why, 왜, still, 아직, ex-boyfriend, 전 남자친구를 meet, 만나는지를 wonder, 궁금해해요. 민호 형은 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구를 만나는지를 궁금해해요. Minho might not be Suji's current boyfriend, cause there's no way he would just wonder about it if he was. He should be furious. In spoken Korean, you can take out all the object particles. 민호 형은 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구 만나는지 궁금해해요. 민호 형은 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구 만나는지 궁금해해요. Or put one object particle to either of the object of the clause or object of the sentence. 민호 형은 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구를 만나는지 궁금해해요. 민호 형은 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구를 만나는지 궁금해해요. Or 민호 형은 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구 만나는지를 궁금해해요. 민호 형은 수지 누나가 왜 아직 전 남자친구 만나는지를 궁금해해요. Both are fine in spoken Korean. Let's learn one more adjective whose translation doesn't exist in English. Let's take a look at the Korean adjective first. 많다. The final h consonant of the consonant cluster is silent, but it affects the initial d consonant and turn it into the aspirated sound t. 많다. 많다 means you have something a lot, or there is something a lot. So there is no one word English translation for it. 많다 means have a lot, or there is a lot. Let's take a look at the example. It will help you understand better. I have a lot of homework today. Let's rearrange the words. We are going to use the Korean adjective which means have a lot. Therefore, a lot of doesn't have to modify the noun homework. So, I, today, homework, have a lot. The entire have a lot is going to be the one-word adjective in Korean. I, 저는, today, 오늘, homework, 숙제. Yes, you're gonna use the adjective 많다 as the last predicate, which takes homework as its object. Therefore, you can add a particle 가 for the object homework. 숙제가 have a lot. The base form is 많다. The stem is 만. You can add the ending 아요. 많아요. 많아요. It's actually pronounced 많아요 because the final h consonant of the consonant cluster is silent and only n consonant remains in the final. But the final n sound should also go up to the initial of the next block because the initial of the next block is no sound empty consonant So 많아요 is actually pronounced 많아요, which means have a lot. 저는 오늘 숙제가 많아요. 많다, 많아요 is one of the adjectives which can take an object and add a particle 이, 가 to its object. Therefore, you should remember this particular adjective. Let's see the next example. There are a lot of fish in the river. Let's rearrange the words. Fish is the subject in the English sentence. But let's put in the river first this time. And then let's put the noun fish. And the predicative part, there are a lot. In the river. Fish, there are a lot. In the river. River is 강 in Korean. You can add a particle 에 in substitution for the English preposition in. 강에, 강에. Fish. Fish in the sea or river is 물고기 in Korean. By the way, is this a subject or object? Because the Korean adjective 많다, 많아요 can take an object. It looks like a subject to me because there's no other subject in this sentence. Anyway, we are going to use the particle 가 because of the particular adjective 많아요. So 물고기가 There are a lot 많아요. 강에 물고기가 많아요. There are a lot of fish in the river. 강에 물고기가 많아요. Then let's use the adjective 있다, 있어요, which means to have, and see what's different. In order to use the adjective 있어요, which means to have, you need an adverb which means a lot. 많이. 많이 is an adverb which means plenty or a lot. And it can be used for both countable nouns and uncountable nouns. I, today, homework, a lot, have. 저는 오늘 숙제. You're gonna use the adjective 있어요 to mean to have. Therefore, you can add a particle 가 again, right? 숙제가 많이, a lot, 있어요, have. 저는 오늘 숙제가 많이 있어요. And 저는 오늘 숙제가 많아요. You can now see the 많아요 and 많이 있어요 means exactly the same, right? The same thing happens to the there are a lot of fish in the river sentence. Let's use the same predicate 있어요, which can also be used to mean something exists and there is something. And add the verb 많이, which means a lot. In the river, 강에, fish, 물고기. What's the particle? Yes, 가, because the predicate is an adjective 있다, 있어요. Plus, 물고기 here is the subject anyway. 물고기가, a lot, 많이, there are, 있어요. 강에 물고기가 많이 있어요. 강에 물고기가 많이 있어요. Right? 많아요 and 많이 있어요 are the same. There's a verb, not adjective, verb, which means to have in Korean. Do you remember what that is? Yes, it's 가지다. And we told you it is normally used in the present continuous form when it means to have. Yes, 가지다, 가지고 있다, 가지고 있어요 is a verb. And 있다 is an adjective when it means to have. Then what's the difference between two? When to use it? We're gonna learn about this later again because it is a little bit difficult to understand. They both have the meaning to have. But let's just say 가지고 있다 is closer to carrying something on your body or hands. Possess something. Take something as your property or have a baby. But 있다 means closer to something exists and there is something. So for example, you cannot use 가지고 있다 for homework because you don't possess it. Okay? Well, actually it is a little bit more complicated than that. Let's not talk about it here right now. Then let's use the third person as the subject. 민호, today, homework, have a lot. 민호, 민호는, today, 오늘, homework, 숙제. What particle do you want to use? 가 or 를? Okay, let's take a look at the predicative part first. This is a little bit important. Please listen carefully. You might want to add 아, 해요 in order to turn the adjective 많다, 많아요 into a verb because the subject is the third person. But in fact, you cannot add 아, 해요 or 어, 해요 to the adjective like this because it's not so-called psychology adjective. This adjective 많다 does not tell your mind or feeling. So you cannot add 아, 해요. Well, you can do that just for fun to make ungrammatical fun sentences, but it's not the stage for you to learn such ungrammatical fun sentences. Maybe you shouldn't forever. The same thing applies to the adjective 있다. You don't say 있어 하다 because it's not the adjective which tells your mind or feeling. Yes, you can do it to make fun sentences, but it's not grammar. Remember that. So you just use the same adjective 많아요, 많아요, even though the subject is the third person, and add a particle 가 to the object 숙제 because the predicate is a transitive adjective, not a verb. So 민호는 오늘 숙제가 많아요. 민호는 오늘 숙제가 많아요. You can use the adjective 많아요 for the third person subject because you are not talking about the third person's feeling. You are talking about the homework based on the fact. Okay? Very good. Let's take a look at the English sentence first this time. I want to eat 삼겹살 today. 삼겹살 is the name of the pork belly for Korean BBQ. It has 3 layers of the meat. That's why Koreans call it 삼겹살. 삼 means 3. 겹 means layer. 살 means meat or flesh. So 삼겹살 means 3-layered meat. This is not something new for you, right? You can make this kind of sentence, right? Let's do it together then. Let's rearrange the words first. I, today, 삼겹살, want to eat or eat want to. I, 저는, today, 오늘, 삼겹살 is just 삼겹살. It's actually pronounced 삼겹살 with a double consonant s sound because of the final b consonant in the formal block. 삼겹살. It's an object of the verb eat, right? So you can add the object particle 을 as you learned. 삼겹살을, 삼겹살을, 삼겹살을. You know it's actually pronounced 삼겹살을 because of the sound linking rule, right? Want to eat or eat want to. As you learned, the base form of the verb eat is 먹다 and the stem is 먹. In order to mean want to, you need to add 고 싶다, 고 싶어요 in a conversational form, right? 먹고 싶어요, 먹고 싶어요. 저는 오늘 삼겹살을 먹고 싶어요. 저는 오늘 삼겹살을 먹고 싶어요. Please listen carefully. This is the important part. 먹다 is a verb, right? How about 싶다, 싶어요? Do you remember? It's not a verb. It's an assistant adjective. Yes, it's one of the adjectives. Because of the fact that the verb 먹다 is combined with the assistant adjective, the entire 먹고 싶다, 먹고 싶어요 part can have the quality of adjective. So you can use the particle 이 or 가 for the object when you use the assistant adjective 고 싶다, 고 싶어요. Okay? So you can also say that 저는 오늘 삼겹살이 먹고 싶어요. 저는 오늘 삼겹살이 먹고 싶어요. 저는 오늘 삼겹살이 먹고 싶어요. Got it? Then let's use the third person as a subject. 민호, today, 삼겹살, wants to eat. 민호 is just 민호. Let's use the particle 가 this time. Why? Because you are going to say something on behalf of 민호. Therefore, it rather goes better with the subject particle 가, so that you can imply that you're emphasizing the subject. 민호 is the one who wants to eat 삼겹살 today. Of course, you can use the auxiliary particle 는 too, no problem. Just you will change the nuance a little bit, or totally depends on the context and situation. Today, 오늘, 삼겹살 is just 삼겹살. What particle do you want to use? Confusing? Okay, let's leave it there and let's take a look at the predicative part first. As you learned before, you don't normally use 고 싶다, 고 싶어요 for the third person subject. Instead, you use 싶어하다, 싶어해요 with the 어해요, 어하다 part, right? 싶다 is originally an adjective. But by adding 어해요, 어하다, it turns into a verb because of the quality that the 하다 part has. 하다 is a verb which means do, right? So 먹다 is a verb and 싶어하다 is a kind of verb too. Therefore, you cannot use the particle 이 or 가 for the object. Okay? So you need to add the object particle 을 again for the object 삼겹살. 민호가 오늘 삼겹살을 먹고 싶어 해요. 민호가 오늘 삼겹살을 먹고 싶어 해요. 민호가 오늘 삼겹살을 먹고 싶어 해요. This is very, very useful information. Please don't forget. Okay, this is the end of lesson 8 part 4. You're going to learn about active, passive, and causative predicates in Korean in the next video. 그럼 다음 비디오에서 만나요. 안녕히 계세요.